Attention to this now. Among the many commitments contained in President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address was an undertaking that government would spend a massive 940 billion rand on infrastructure development over the next 3 years. That's huge. We are told it includes 375 billion rand spending by state-owned enterprises, and that it will include revitalizing roads and bridges, build dams and waterways, modernize our ports and airports, and power our economy. So let's speak to one of the agencies that will be at the forefront of this spend, the South African National Roads Agency Limited, SANRAL, and I'm joined by its CEO, Reginald Demana. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So you must have been excited when you heard the president talking about these plans for all this expenditure. What are the implications for you, and where do they find you, these plans, in terms of your agency's ability to carry out massive projects and continue maintenance?
Yeah, good morning to you and listeners at large. I think the announcement by the president of massive investment in infrastructure, of course, is not new because it's a continuation of the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. You will remember that he launched as a result of as a response to COVID. So that continuation is there, and it is good to see government sticking to that. Obviously, out of the 940 billion is the 375 billion earmarked for state-owned entities such as ours. Indeed, for us, our projects, we spend in the region of some 30 billion rand every year. We have just awarded between April and December, 53 billion rand worth of contracts, which will now be rolled out in the coming months as we head into 2025. And we continue to hope that there will be much more activity by other agencies within the infrastructure space, in particular those supporting transport and logistics, because really transport is at the heartbeat of economic growth as well as social development.
Among the projects that the president singled out that fall within your domain is the M10 Bridge in the Eastern Cape. Tell me a bit more about that project and how far it has gone, and when completion can be expected.
Yeah, it is a project that is part of two mega projects in the N2 Wild Coast. That part of the world in the Pondoland, we are developing a road that will connect Port Edward to Port St. John's and all the way to Mtanta. About 60-80 kilometers of that is greenfields, cutting through mountains and valleys and crossing very wide rivers. So we need a number of bridges, and Mtendu is one of them. We got that project going early in 2023 when I just joined SANRAL. Of course, the contractor was appointed in 2022. It's going to be one of the longest bridges, and as the president indicated, in terms of height, by the time it's done, it will be the tallest bridge when you're measuring from the river up. So that area is blessed with natural beauty, massive valleys, very big rivers, and it requires infrastructure of this type. We are hoping that towards 2027, 2028, that bridge will be complete, together with the Msikaba Bridge that is almost next to it, as well as the various road pieces that link the bridges and ultimately to Port St. John's, as well as Port Edward on the KZN side.
You had run into some difficulty a few months ago with concerns from the community. What work have you done to allay the concerns of various communities in that area?
Stakeholder engagement is very key, as you can imagine, in infrastructure projects of this nature. And engagement with communities must continue, is ongoing. Part of contestations will be people looking for opportunities to supply materials, looking for jobs, being part of SMME programs and all of that. And we continue to engage and improve, listen to them where indeed we can accommodate each other. We have a project license committee that is made of different local stakeholders. It's a common feature of each project to help manage stakeholders in any particular project. And that work continues with our team.
But can you blame the communities being concerned about them having a stake in your developmental projects? What with some of the issues that came to the fore a few years ago, concerns about the extent to which SANRAL contracts or goes into joint ventures with foreign companies. These were raised by a few years ago by the South African Institute of Civil Engineering, for example, talking about some 6.65 billion rand of your contracts having gone to foreign companies. Can you blame these communities when when they have their guard up, even as you're trying to develop projects in their areas?
Yeah, no, I think we are mixing a few things. So community participation and communities looking for a stake and deriving value out of projects, no one can blame them. And it's a requirement that we must do that at all projects, irrespective of who the contractor is, whether it's local, foreign, or joint venture. We must always look after communities where projects are passing through their villages and areas. So that's a standard feature. If we now talk about joint ventures, by the way, SANRAL doesn't enter into joint ventures. It simply contracts work to contractors, some of whom might be in joint venture, some of whom might have international participation through that. We let out work through open tenders. And anybody who qualifies with the laws of the country, registration in the country, their right B level, they are tax compliant, they have a CIDB registration, they are on the so-called CSD database in National Treasury, they can bid. Those are the laws. So it's open to everyone who qualifies. We don't control that. But SANRAL in itself doesn't enter into joint ventures.
All right. Lastly, just tell me about how you are able to carry out all of these projects. I'm looking at your figures; they are quite impressive, including, the 12.3 billion rand capital projects for the past financial year, 10.7 billion rand on road maintenance, some 1,984 kilometers that you have resurfaced. How are you doing all of this in light of funding concerns following, for example, projects such as the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project?
Yeah, look, I think a couple of things go into that ingredients. One is that you have a very good support from government, indicative by this commitment by the president to spend so much money on infrastructure. The second one is that you also have a very supportive ministry. Political leadership matters in these things to keep driving the entity to deliver the services. And of course, governance at a board level and management, having a leadership team that is also committed and leading, making sure that the entity is stable, very important. And lastly, SANRAL has been able to hang on to its engineers, many of whom started in the days that the entity was still a division of the department. So having the requisite skills, engineering and otherwise, to keep running the business is key.
All right. Thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That is the CEO of the South African National Roads Agency Limited, and that is Reginald Demana. Let's get your latest news now from N. Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their